The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Merry meet and merry part, bright the cheeks and warm the heart. For tread the circle thrice about, to keep unwelcome spirits out. Bide within the law you must, in perfect love and perfect trust. Mind the threefold laws you should, 3 times bad and 3 times good. These 8 words the read fulfill, and ye harm none, do what ye will.
Welcome to Stirring the Cauldron on the Para X Radio Network. And now, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
Merry meet everybody, and welcome to Stirring the Cauldron. My guest tonight is Kerrie Erwin, and we'll be talking about clearing negative energy and freeing earthbound souls. Kerrie has encountered spirits since she was a child, and with a background in spiritual mediumship, clinical hypnotherapy, past life regression, vibrational medicine, and Reiki, she now works professionally as a spirit medium. She's also a very prolific author with several books, and tonight we're going to be talking about her book, Spirit Rescue. As always, those of you who are in the Para X chat room listening to the live show, you're welcome to ask questions or comments during the broadcast. And if you're not here and would like to join us, come over to paraxradionetwork.com. All right, well, let's get started, and welcome, Kerrie. There are many types of spirits all around us. Many people know that. Some are good, some are not so good, and some like to hang out in our apartments or our houses, and many can feel the presence. It may be a smell, it could be a feeling.
Could be, and they could feel them around them, and they could get sick. Nothing goes good in their life, their work, their problems with romances, because these spirits, they eat off you, they stay and they won't go. Then you have what we call a wandering spirit. These wandering spirits, they may not have lived in the house, but you may have picked them up where there's a lot of people, like a hospital or a busy place or a car accident, and they're also earthbound and confused, and they're wandering spirits. They might not belong in the house, but you may have picked them up from somewhere. Mm-hmm. And these ghost tours, often those wandering spirits will follow people home.
Hitchhikers.
And yeah, the hitchhikers, yeah. But they're easy to get rid of. You just smoke them out with some sage, because they don't belong there. It's the earthbound spirits that may have lived in the house that when you smoke the house out, they'll go and stand outside and then they'll come back in again when you're finished.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you might need a medium to get rid. Say, okay, go into the light you did and tell them to go with their spirit team. They're the difficult ones. And then you get the poltergeist.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not into Ouija boards, because I believe that if you're not trained with working a Ouija board, you're actually opening up a portal where these dark spirits can come in. These are menacing spirits. Mm-hmm. You get different types. Poltergeist is what we call a noisy spirit. There's different types. You can get the menacing ones, or they want our attention. They bang on the walls. They move things around. They throw things around. And I've had different types. I even had to work with a boy that fell off a roof in an accident. He was a roofer. He was only 18. And when I went to the property, I was talking to him, and he didn't want to go because he said it was unfair that he died, so he wasn't going to go. So I had to cross him over, bring in the guides and cross him over. But he was banging on the walls. He was really screaming not to go because he was terrified that he was dead. He didn't want to go, but we finally got him over. So, yeah. And then you get the darker spirits, which I don't do. Look, I don't really do dark spirits. I do more, I call them shadow people. Have you heard of them?
Mm-hmm, of course, yes.
Oh, the shadow people are dreadful. They're very dark. They look like rubber men. They're very tall, very elongated. They're dark, and they usually got red eyes. And you can see them from the corner of your eyes, and they flash around the room. You can see them. And if you've
Mm-hmm.
got, and they usually hide under the bed. And it's mostly children. You can actually pick them up from childhood. And once these shadow spirits or people have attached to you, you have nothing but bad luck all the time. You feel sick, everything goes wrong, and they're horrible, horrible negative energy. So instead of telling them to go into the light, when I'm crossing one of them over, I say, go to where you came from, because they won't go into the light because they're dark souls.
Mm-hmm. What about the spirits that wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning by yelling in your ear and
That,
saying
that
something?
that's what we call like a poltergeist, or just they could be wandering. They're any category, earthbound, wandering. That they're just trying to get your attention. But
Mm-hmm.
it's a horrifying feeling when they're actually suffocating you or pulling you out of the bed. Or I've had terrible. I don't have any of that anymore because I use protection.
Mm-hmm.
Even now, when I go to sleep of a night, I still have a light on because
Yeah.
well, spirits thrive in the dark. So
Yes.
I always have a night light, and they can't hurt me if I got a night light on or I've got the bathroom light on. Also, I put a protection of white light around my bed and around my room so they don't come near me anymore. They don't
Mm.
have a chance.
They know better.
Oh, because I've got protection now, but if I still use my protection and I still use my nightlight because, I'm telling you, dark spirits or lost souls, they thrive in the night, in the dark. They
Mm-hmm.
love the dark.
And mentioning protection, why don't you talk a little bit about that? Because some
Well,
people do things, some people don't, some people think
yeah.
they don't
Well,
need to.
we've all got our different ways, and whatever works for you is okay. But for me, and some people may argue with me, but it works for me, hey? And I've been using this since I was a kid. I use the white light, which is unconditional love. It's the universal love, or it's the Christ consciousness energy, whatever you want to call it. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
religious, but I believe in the higher powers, the angelic energy, and all that. So the white light for me is unconditional love. So what I do, I wrap a white cloak around me for protection, and then I apply a blue cloak. The blue cloak is for psychic attack, and that serves
Mm-hmm.
me very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was a kid, especially, I didn't know what to do, so I kept the light on. Mum let me do that. But when I went to the church and trained as a medium, the very first thing they taught me was about protection and putting that beautiful white light around me. And I used to pretend I had the white light in my finger and I just put a ring around me in my bed, and I was never, never attacked ever again because they can't get past that barrier of light.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
white light is stronger than dark energy. It's the most strongest energy in the universe, and it's unconditional love.
Yeah. I use the white light quite often and it works.
Well, it's
I
the
put,
only, well, it's the most highest frequency on the planet and beyond.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's good to know, but protection is what everyone should use, always.
Yeah. I mean, it seems, some people, religious people say, well, God will take care of us. And, he might, but I would like the
Well,
light also. Yeah.
if you're a sensitive soul, and you're a light worker or we do the work that we do, we have to have protection because we're very sensitive in the world. And it's not
Hmm.
just spirits or ghosts that'll give you a hard time, it's other people too that are not spiritual. They may be jealousy. It's a human trait. They could be jealous of you. They may, they're envious, that sort of thing. These negative emotions, these thought forms, and, people that send negative energy to you. It goes on a lot, especially in our industry,
Hmm.
which is very unfortunate.
Yes, it is. Now I'm going to be jumping around here a little bit. Let's talk a minute about why spirits don't want to or don't think they can cross over.
Yeah, a lot of spirits, well, the first thing is they are confused. The second thing is they don't want to go. Another thing is they may have unfinished business on the planet, or they could be scared because of some sort of religious belief that they might
Mhm.
cop it when they go over to the other side because they've done too many bad things. Or they
Hmm.
may have an attachment to something. They may have an attachment to their house. Like, for example, I can I use an examples?
Sure, of course.
An example was I was clearing a space of this older man, and his wife had died, and I asked him. And when I walked into the house, I actually saw her spirit. I saw her spirit sitting in her bed, and I said, "Your wife's here. You just told me that she was dead." He goes, "Look," I said, "What happened to her?" He said, "Well, she had a mental illness before she died, and she had it for many years, and he took her to the hospital when she was sick. She died, and what she did, I said, how did you get back here?" And she said she hopped in the back of the car from the hospital and went home with him as soon as she died
Mm-hmm.
because she didn't want to cross. And I said, well, you got to cross because you've died. You don't belong here. And you could actually smell her energy. It wasn't good because she wasn't meant to be here. And he was really scared because he said things were being arranged, money was disappearing, and he could feel her in the bed too. So he believed everything I was saying. He said, please tell her to go. She's got to go. And the other thing too, which he told me later, he had a new girlfriend.
Ah.
So she, no way was she going to go. She was very unhappy about that. So she actually died in the hospital, hopped in the car, and came back with him and went back to her bed. And I said, "You got to go. You're dead. You can't stay here." She didn't want to go. So I called down the light, called in the guides, and we crossed her over, and she was gone. And the whole energy in the house shifted because the whole energy felt very dark and very sad, and it didn't smell very well. It was horrible. And as soon as she went,
Mm.
it was like this energy came in and totally it was clear again. And oh, it was enormous relief. And it was very sad though. Very, very sad.
Oh, it would be. Now,
Mm.
some people are afraid when it's their time that they're going to get lost in the process. And you clarified it for me um, in the book that we're never alone. You want to talk a little bit about
No.
that?
Oh, yes. Well, this is the most fantastic thing to know. We have a whole lot of hierarchy of spirits out there to help us. For example, when we're born, we have a guide. Everyone has a guide. And the other fantastic thing is, did you know we all have a guardian angel
Yep.
from birth till death? So we're
Hmm.
not alone. We've always got someone there. It's the actual spirit's refusal to cross because the guide wants to help, our guardian angel wants to help us, and also we have our loved ones. Because often when I'll do crossings, cross people over, they will, or spirits over, often their relatives will come. I'll say, look, your mother's here. You can see them come in the room. Your mother's here or your father's here, and they want you to go. You got to go. Come on, you can't stay any longer. You got to go. And then boom, they'll go straight away.
Hmm.
So we have our loving guides to help us too. So we are never alone. We all we have to do is ask for help, ask for our loved ones to step in, for our guides to step in, and also the magnificent angels, which are gift to man. The angels are a gift to mankind. It's just that people forget and they forget to ask them for things. I just lost a cat for 2 weeks, Bobby the cat. He
Hmm.
disappeared for two
Wow.
weeks. So I kept praying to Archangel Michael to bring
Hmm.
him back. A
Hmm.
day before my birthday, it was 13 days, Bobby came back home again. It
Mm.
was a miracle. But that's what angels do.
Oh.
They produce miracles.
Yeah, they do. And it's kind of interesting when things like that happen. If a cat goes for 2 weeks, you kind of have a notion that maybe, she would come back.
No, it was the most it was like losing a child when you lose a fur baby. It's like,
Hmm.
it's a horrible loss, and the whole
Yeah.
house was sad. And then I really believe in angelic using the angels. I always
Hmm.
have. I've used them throughout my life, calling on Archangel Michael especially. And when
Hmm.
I first started doing the rescue work, I was terrified because I didn't want to be Buffy the Slayer, going working with earthbound spirits. It's
Hmm.
not very nice because I had to crawl in roofs looking for spirits, and I've been thrown across a room by an angry spirit once, so it scared me. So I
Oh.
always call in Archangel Michael to sit by my side, and nothing ever bad happens. It's like keeping the light on of a night time.
Yeah, for sure. One day I was with a friend of mine is Kenny Kingston. And I was at his house and he was doing some mediumship and stuff. And I walked across the room and something walked right through me. And it was the weirdest feeling. And, I stood there for a minute and he says, you just walked through somebody or they walked through you. And I said,
Yeah.
oh, did I hurt them? It was really funny. But, they are tangible at certain things.
Absolutely. But there's nothing better in mediumship than when a loved one comes through and the person can actually feel them there in the room,
Hmm.
or when you share a signpost with them, when we know, as like a sign from spirit, the spirit's there. Years ago I was doing a reading for a woman in one of my offices I had, and he was a real cowboy from the country. And then um, suddenly, Willie Nelson, as I was talking to her and I brought him through, he died of cancer for the woman, the Willie
Hmm.
Nelson song came on and she went, oh my God, that's his favourite song. And it was coming from the tattoo parlour next door and they never played that sort of music. And I thought, oh my God, my hair was standing up on my head. But, spirit works in incredible ways, doesn't it?
It does. And, somebody was off wondering, not being afraid to try to have to go, but he was afraid that he might not see his family again.
Well,
Um,
yes, but that doesn't mean he was earthbound. That could have just been his thoughts. But earthbound spirits actually have a presence because you're there. And a lot of people say, I don't believe in that. And I go, well, it's the proof's in the pudding. You've either got a problem, that's when you kind of, oh my God, this is real. It is real. It does happen.
mhm.
And that's when the rescue medium gets called in because you don't go looking for people, they come looking for you because they need your help because you have the spirit team to help them go.
Yeah,
So
that
it's
was just,
interesting.
I was just going to ask, do they find them or do we go after them? Yeah.
No, it's just
Or they
people
find
with
us.
with me. People always contact me. I don't go looking for people. I advertise what I do because I do lots of different things. But I'm inundated with this work overseas, everywhere. I do it all the time, and because I can just very easily I never knew I could do remote viewing. It's quite easy because I was working in a show in Australia called Psychic TV. I worked
Hmm.
there for on and off 10 years and I was getting all these people in all over Australia and they're going, look, I've got a spirit. I'm sure my husband's out the back because he's giving me a hard time. He won't go. Or they'd be telling me. And I'm thinking, holy hell, how am I supposed to help them? I can't go to their house. And then suddenly the guide came in. He said, Kerrie, you can do it over the phone. And so I tuned into the energy and I was able to cross the spirit over the phone. I've been doing it nonstop since.
That's interesting.
So your
Um,
guide can step in and show you different ways on how to do it. So I usually get the person, I've got them on the phone, I'll go, okay, go to the front door and I'll gradually go room by room and what I do, it sounds disgusting, but I burp like, bleh. You've got somebody standing near the window. I can see them, smell them, taste them, and I'm burping. And then I'll say, bring down the light. And then I'll say, tell them to go into the light. And they say, go into the light, go into the light. And then they go, you can feel it. And I'll go, oh my God, I felt that. I got goosebumps or my hair all stood up. And oh, I feel sick in they will feel the residual energy when they go.
mm,
So it's very effective remote viewing.
do they really go? Sometimes there'd be stubborn ones
No,
that
they
don't
do.
want to go.
No, because they get in that propeller of light. Once they're in that light, they're stuck like a spider web. Boom, it takes them.
And can they come
They
back
can't. They
down?
don't. No, they don't come back. No, but you might find others that hide. I've had to look under beds, look into cupboards, look in people's roofs, look in their cars because they hide, or they might go outside. I
Mm,
had a case where I had a horrible man. He was a pedophile. He lived in a house, and these people bought the house after he died in jail.
mhm,
And he came back to the house, and the kids were being affected. They were being interfered with, the kids, by this bad spirit. So
mm,
I went in to get him, and I could see what he did. I saw him go through the wall. So I went outside and I got him, and he was gone.
mm,
But I was able to see him to get him going because I was about to grab him, and he went through the wall. He was a very cunning old spirit, you know.
mhm.
So he
Yeah,
went.
I
He was
mean,
earthbound. Of course, he didn't want to cross because he'd done so many bad things.
yeah, there's a lot of
Just,
people that think
yeah,
that they're
well,
going to go to hell, so they don't want to cross
exactly.
over. Yeah.
Well, I've I don't really believe in hell. I think it's just a fabrication from the Catholic Church or whatever, but yeah, they're terrified. It's their belief because he did so many bad things and he knew it. But after I cleared him, the whole house settled down. But not often, but sometimes when I clear houses over the phone or whenever,
Mm-hmm.
once you've saged the house too, like I always say, now give it a good smoke out. We might find you have layers of other dimensions. So I might clear a property and I'll say, look, it was so bad. I found like 13 spirits. You had a lot
Mm-hmm.
of spirits in your house for
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason. They may have lived in an old hospital or a graveyard or something. For some reason, there's too many spirits there, okay? Or
Mm-hmm.
they may have had bad people living there before who were into dark magic or negative people living there that sort of, who knows what's happened before, the history. Often I will say, give it a good smoke out and then I'll clear them. And I'll say, contact me when you've smoked it out because I feel there could be a few hiding in the dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll let me know. And so they'll say, oh, look, the house feels good, but there's something weird in the front bedroom. I don't feel you may have missed something. I go, no worries. So I'll clear it again, and then bang, it's fine. I won't hear from them again
Mm-hmm.
because they hide. They hide.
Well, they do. And I had one medium come over to the house. We were doing a book, and he was helping me out with it. And he walked in my house, and he took about 3 steps in, and he said, "This is like Grand Central Station. They're in and out all over the place." And I knew the part of the house that was like that. It was kind of a duplex thing. So my was fine. Nobody was bothering me, but he just froze and he says, "Oh my God,
Mm.
they're all over the place."
Well,
And
in that case, there may be an open or dimensional portal
there
that
might
needs
have
to be
been, yeah,
closed.
yeah.
So with that, the easy way to clear that, as in Reiki, you just rub your palms together, you activate your hand chakras, and you can actually feel it. Like if you feel in the area where there may be an open vortex or portal, you'll feel
Hmm.
like a breeze on your palm. So what you do, you rub your hand chakras together, you actually put white light into that space, and that'll close the energy down, the vortex or the portal down.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's just a break in the house. Like it's the same thing applies to people's auras or energy fields. If you feel the aura, you might feel that they've got a break or something. Okay,
Hmm.
in the aura on the outside of the aura, you'll feel it. You'll feel like a cold breeze. So you actually rub the hand chakras together and you just apply white light. Visualize white light going in. It actually pops. You can hear it pop, pop like a
Oh.
pop. You can actually hear the pop, the dimensional shift. And you can hear in a house too when you put the white light into the vortex or the portal where you've got this break in the dimension of the house with all these spirits keep coming in all the time. You will hear a pop, or some people can anyway. Depends how clairaudient you are.
Okay, we're gonna almost go to uh quest yeah, break. But there's one question that we'll ask right now from the chat room. Um, he wants to know what is an easy cleansing to do for homes for people that have breathing trouble and can't use smudge sticks.
Well, to be honest, get somebody else to smoke it out for you because for me, sage is the only thing that really works. I'm not into salt or whatever else. I just sage, white sage, old grandfather sage is the only thing that works for me. And in Australia, with the Aboriginal spirits, we use gum leaves.
Mm,
So I can't really answer that because nothing else works for me. I mean,
yeah.
what do the ghost people use? They use that. What's that stick called? Paleo something. What's that called? That stick they use?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But you're not going to get past it. So if you can't do it, you either wear a mask or you get
Mhm.
someone else to do it for you and then open all the windows up when you finish so you can go in because a bit of spray or frankincense isn't going to cut it or salt doesn't work. Sorry.
Okay.
Has to be that smoke because it's a shamanistic technique and my God, it works. So you open all the windows up, the doors, whoosh, let it go out, and it's like almost like you've got this incredible new energy again.
Hmm. All right. Well, we've got to take a break, but we're gonna There's a couple more questions when we come back. So everybody stay put and we'll be back very soon.
Don't go away. There's more Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks right after these important messages. It's double the cauldron, double the fun. Parax brings you back-to-back hours of Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks. First, at 8 p.m., Parax digs into the vault to bring you an encore edition of Stirring the Cauldron. That's 10 years worth of amazing guests, interesting subjects, and all the fun from your favorite show. Then at 9 p.m., Parax presents an all-new hour of Stirring the Cauldron as Marla explores the paranormal realm with brand new topics and all-new guests. It's double the cauldron, double the fun as Parax presents back-to-back hours of Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks. And it all begins 8 p.m. Thursday right here on the Parax Radio Network.
Do you know where the world's most secret bases are located? Do you know what spooky action at a distance means? Is there a conspiracy by aliens to prevent us from conquering space? And where is the best place in the United States to see a real UFO? Find the answers to all these questions and more in Mac Maloney's new book, Mac Maloney's Haunted Universe. Visit places you never knew existed, the Hampton Tunnels of Tokyo, the UFO Trail in South America, Ong's Hat, and the very mysterious M Triangle. Mac Maloney Haunted Universe contains hundreds of reports on ghosts, haunted planes and ships, weird celebrity deaths, mysterious sounds, and a breakdown of every monster in America, state by state. You've heard him talk about it on the radio. Now get all of Mac's paranormal research in one large volume. Mac Maloney's Haunted Universe, with a foreword by the very famous Juan Juan. On sale now in your local bookstore or on Amazon.com.
Hi, Barry McGuire here, inviting you to come along with Marla Brooks and let's start stirring the cauldron together on Parax.
Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks, Thursdays at 9 o'clock on Parax. Whether you're listening at home, at work, or anywhere, thanks for making Parax part of your day. Your source for everything paranormal, Parax. Welcome back to Stirring the Cauldron. Once again, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
And our guest tonight is Kerrie Erwin, and we're talking about spirit rescue. And right before the commercials, we had a couple of questions there's to ask before we keep going on. One with the question is, why does sage irritate some spirits and make them screaming angry?
Because they know it's a very strong deterrent and it's going to get rid of them because it's like fly spray. It's like flying a fly with spray. It kills them and they don't like it and it just makes them very, very sick. That's why.
Okay. And somebody is using orange peels, and that sounds good. But now here's another question, if I have to get there. All right. She says she had a child spirit follow her home, and when he refused to leave on his own, he told her that would make contact with his grandmother to make him leave, and he did.
Yes.
So do you see this as a viable way to make some spirits leave?
100%, because the child's confused, it's scared. It's just a child spirit. It's lost. So calling in a loved one, it will definitely help because the loved one will help them cross. It works a lot. It works a lot. I use that a lot myself.
Yeah, we did too on a ghost adventure. We had the medium said that she started walking strangely. We're at where was it? Oh, a wax museum of all places. But she was seeing this young girl spirit going in circles. She didn't know where she was. She didn't know what to do, and so she said she called up and got the kids. I think it was a teenager or something, and asked for her grandmother. And the minute she saw her grandmother, boom,
She
off
went.
she went. Yeah.
No, it's a beautiful thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Well,
Absolutely. And
it
you can feel the energy too, because you just want to cry when you feel something like that or see it. It's beautiful.
yeah, yeah.
Because there's so much love in the room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean everybody, we're all standing around going, "Oh my God," I had
Well,
goosebumps. It was
oh wow,
really
just hearing that story brings tears to my eyes. It's a beautiful thing.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so here's another question, I think. Yeah. Wait a minute. It it's not coming through. It's coming like in lines.
The other thing though, Marla, getting
Yeah,
back to the orange peels,
yeah.
I've never used that. I've ever heard about it. So that's interesting. I don't know how the smell of the orange peel would help a spirit go, because it's a citrine essence, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
But look, if it works, whatever works, right? But
Yeah.
also with earthbound spirits, after a period of time, the guide will come in and take them over too,
Mm-hmm.
because that's their job.
Yeah,
They
I
may
mean,
be resisting the guide, but the spirit may get to a point where it's just had enough, and that's when the guide will come in and take it over itself.
mm-hmm. Okay, that
Because
is
the spirit world does look after its own.
yes, well, they have to. And some of them look over us too as well. So they're
That's
doing
true.
yeah. Um, okay, if we want to work with spirit, there are many types of energies that come across. Some of them aren't so good and some of them are good.
Mhm.
How do
Well,
you
that's a very interesting question, because because I used to hear people talking, like when I was meditating.
mm-hmm,
The first question I'd say if I was in a trance or meditating, I'd say, "Do you come from the light?"
mm-hmm,
And I used to tell this to all my students too when they were meeting their guides and angelic helpers or whatever.
mm-hmm,
The question was, do you come from the light? If they say no or didn't answer, I'd say, go back into the light, leave now. You don't have permission to be here, until the voice said or the energy said, yes, I come from the light. And that's when you know you're working with the right light being or guide, because you do have the mischievous spirits in the astral that want to come in and cause lots of havoc in your life. So the question there is, the answer is, you always ask the spirit if it comes or works in the light. Like, for example, I might have a student, oh, I'm talking to someone called Mary. And I'll say, okay, ask Mary if she comes from the light. Oh, Mary, do you come from the light? Oh, she's not answering me. Okay, you answer, ask her again. Ask her if she comes from the light. Do you come from the light? And then you'll hear no or yes or whatever. If it's no, I said, well, tell them to cross, say go, go, you don't belong here, leave. And they will. You have to have the affirmation of yes. And that's for people that are, opening up in their first
mm-hmm.
stage of finding out what sort of spirit you're working with. They
But
have to
don't
work in light.
we've got a good person that we know that always says, be very careful because spirits do lie.
Absolutely, they do. We have so many mischievous spirits in the astral who are quite happy to suck you dry and make your life hell. So you just
Mm-hmm,
have to learn, when you're working with spirituality, it's all about protection, boundaries, and grounding. And like, you would never meditate or do trance work or physical work if you were drunk or on drugs or something, because you're opening up to other energies.
mm-hmm.
So it's about being very focused and very grounded when doing this work, and using protection and working with the light, the unconditional love.
Yeah, because I know a
It-
lot of
It's
people. People can
yeah,
get
well,
uh, somebody that isn't who it's supposed to be,
that's
that
right.
kind
And
of
then
thing.
and then what happens later on? They may attach themselves to your aura or your energy field, and then over time they become a sub personality, and then you have to do an exorcism on them,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yeah.
I've done many times. I've had to do exorcisms on people many times,
Oh,
where they've
that's
had these entity attachments that become a sub personality that sort of take over your life, your mind, sort of thing, and give you orders and stuff.
mm,
And a really good way of detecting if you have an entity attachment on you is, do you want me to show you?
mm,
Or you just
yeah.
imagine you close your eyes and you imagine yourself in a white room, and you just turn your head to the left, and then you ask the person, can you feel or see anything on the left side? Or you can do it yourself, and no, that's clear. Okay, now turn your head to the right. Is that clear? Oh no, I see a dark shadow there. We would say, go into the light, go to where you come from, go into the light and tell me when it's gone, or when it's gone, you'll know. And then you
Mm-hmm.
feel the front, then you feel the back the same. You just scan the energy. Can you feel or see anything there? And once the energy's clear, you just put a beautiful white light around you in a blue cloak. And that's from doing spiritual healing for years. I used to do a lot of spiritual healing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just working with the aura. The white room is the aura. It's a very, very effective technique, and only takes a couple of minutes, and then you're clear.
That's easy.
But you
All right,
need to move those entities on.
yes. All right, we got another question. She says, can you explain exactly what is a medium? Because she says, I've never thought myself as a medium, but it seems more and more spirits are contacting me. Don't
Yeah.
you know if that is mediumship work or what?
Well, it's something that really needs to be investigated. If she's having a lot of an awakening where a lot of spirits are coming to her, and you need to go and do your training, is what I say. Go and find someone that can train you up and teach you how to handle that experience, because it can be very overwhelming.
It would be. Yeah.
Or it's just an awakening. Like, you may have had this a whole life and something may happen in your life, or you may have a spiritual contract where, okay, when you turn 20, you're going to become a medium and do this work. And it could have been suppressed for a long time. And then suddenly, boom, it awakens. Your gifts awaken. And I'm sure many people have experienced this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Oh.
any gift. Like, I didn't realise I could sing till I was, 14, or I didn't realise I was a psychic until such. I used to have feelings, but I sort of didn't know what it was. It's that sort of thing usually with people. People have a timeline. We all have a timeline in our life where things are meant to happen. It's like preordained, I always say. I feel it's part of our spiritual contract.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm jumping around again. You know, orbs are very controversial. And on your website,
Yes.
you have a page about orbs like spirit orbs, nature orbs, ghost orbs. What's the difference between a ghost orb and a spirit orb?
Okay, first of all, you have the nature spirit orbs. Nature spirit orbs are everywhere. They're the elementals. Like, you might be walking past a river or a lake and you might see these white little lights. Have you ever experienced that?
Mm-hmm.
Lots of little lights.
Sure.
If you're looking, oh my God, they're usually what we call little white orbs. They're nature spirits. And they're
Mm-hmm.
usually undines. They come from the water spirits, undine
Yeah.
spirits,
Mm-hmm.
elementals.
Yeah.
And you often see them in nature. I used to take students out when I used to pick flowers for vibrational therapies. I used to take them into the woods and we'd go by the river and I'd show them, look at those lights, and they weren't aware until I pointed it out, and then now they see them all the time. You see the little lights everywhere. So that's a nature orb, and they're usually white, light, and bright. With the spiritual orb, it can be different sorts of colours, usually light, and often you'll see a little face in the orb. If you take a photo of it, you'll see a face and you enlarge it, you think, oh my God, that's like a female to me. And you'll say, oh, that looks like my grandmother. Or it can be an angelic orb, the spirit orbs. And often they may appear if someone's from the spirit world's trying to get in contact with you, or things like that. You'll see spirit orbs. They're usually relatives or loved ones. Or it could be angelic help as well, or spirit guides. And then you have the ghost orbs. Now these are like, the bad ones are black. Have you ever seen a black orb floating around?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're horrible. They're black and they're quite big, and they look horrible and they look very ominous, and they are. Or, that you might have a dirty yellow. I've seen dirty yellow ghost orbs, in places that are really heavily haunted. Sometimes the orb will come out of nowhere, and, you can feel the energy. It's really cold in the room, and whoosh, you'll see a whoosh and you might see a big orb. Or you can always catch orbs on cameras anyway, and that way you'll be able to understand what sort of orb they are. Or,
Mm-hmm.
The spirit orbs are generally, they can be different colours. They can be blue or beautiful green, lovely colours, or very light and bright. And they look beautiful. But the ghost orbs are yucky. They're sort of yellow, dark, and the black ones are the worst. That's when you sort of could be working with like a very, very dark energy, which is
Oh,
gross.
so happy I've never seen one of those.
I have, unfortunately,
I'd
when
get
I
out the
did.
fly swatter. No, it wouldn't
No, I
help.
saw them when I used to work for the police. I used to do murder cases back in the day
Mm-hmm.
until my husband found out and said, "You're not doing that."
Uh-oh.
And that was quite interesting. And I saw quite when I did murder cases, I'd see black orbs hanging around or where people used a lot of drugs and stuff like that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, scary sometimes. Hang
Scary
on.
stuff.
Yes, it is. You were talking a little bit about remote viewing and clearing, and let's talk a
Yes.
little bit more about that because that's really wonderful. So,
Well, remote. Well, we all work in every way. So we can see, hear, smell, taste, right?
mhm,
We can do all that. So with remote viewing, I don't know, like even when I did Reiki, when I feel energy, I burp. And they used to call me the burping Reiki person. Not that I wanted to, but if I can feel energy, I can feel it in my solar plexus, okay?
mhm,
So that's obviously the way spirit wants me to work. So what happens with me, someone will ring me up, they'll go, I want you to clear my house. I go, okay, you got to be there, have the phone on, and then, so they're there, I ring them up, and we always start at the front door because I come in, I call my spirit team in, they go there before me. The spirit team go there. I'm on the other side of the phone in my home. The spirit team go there and they round the spirits up. You just got to call them in, your spirit team. So I go to the front door, and usually the perpetrator, the person, the spirits that's been causing the most problem, you'll always find them at the front of the house. And it's generally the person who may have lived there. That's with the earthbound spirits. And
mhm.
then you go room by room. So I clear that. I'll say, go into the light, look into the light. You're dead. Go now. You're dead. That's all you got to do. You bring down the light, visualize, like in Star Trek, that white light, like beam me up, Scotty.
Yes.
I always try to make things funny because that way you don't freak out about anything because it's so crazy what we're doing, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I bring down the white light and I say, now go into the light, you're dead. Open your eyes, go into the light, you're dead. You have to go, you don't belong here. And then with the help from the spirit team, whoosh, they're gone. And then the person will say, oh my God, I really felt that. Or no, I didn't feel anything. But I suppose you know what you're doing. Some people are like that. It depends. But most people will say, oh my God, I just felt all my hairs raise up. And then I'll get them to go to the next room and I look under the bed, I look in the cupboards, and I even get them to open up the roof, like get a ladder, place the phone up near the roof. I check everywhere, garage. And another thing where I find earthbound spirits
Mm.
in the back of cars,
Uh-huh.
buying boots. Because,
Mm.
you might have gone somewhere and they hitch a ride. We're talking about the hitching types.
Yeah, yeah.
They're actually called wandering spirits, but that's a great name, hitching types, because they hitch a ride. And I had a friend, he was a medium and he used to travel all around Australia and his car would always break down. And I said, listen, mate, it's because you've got a whole lot of spirits in the back of your car. They're hitching a ride. And he just laughed, so I'd have to clear his car for him all the time.
Oh, jeez.
Because the tyre would fall off or the car would break down because spirits get into electrical things. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's how you get the lights going on and off because they get into electrical grids and stuff, spirits. I
Mm-hmm.
had I did a big show one night in a place in the Blue Mountains in Australia, and it was the most haunted. It was a haunted hotel, and my car was so full of spirits. They got into my GPS, and I ended up on the other side of Sydney
Mm.
because they mucked around with my GPS. I kept taking the wrong turns. It took me about 5 hours to get home that night because of the bloody spirits in the back of the car that got
Mm-hmm.
into the GPS system. They hitched a ride. Because they're sneaky things. You don't know they're there, and then they try and have a lot of fun with you, right? So I think I took half the hotel spirits with me in the back of the car. They were all there. And I've even brought them home back in the day. I've used to bring them home to my house, and I thought I'd cleared everything. And they're sneaky things. And my husband will say, oh, no, you've got a whole lot of spirits here, so I'll have to clear them out of my house.
Mm,
That happens a lot. It's just, part and parcel of, I suppose, what you do.
yeah, well, I was doing a write up on a cemetery, and it was dark. It was at night. They had a meeting, and then I had to go out by myself in the dark through the cemetery to the parking lot. And I'm looking over my shoulder the whole time. And the minute I got in the car, I looked in the rearview mirror. I was just like, okay, I think I'm
Yeah.
fine. Let me get out of here. Um, we've got another question. Um, does a person's particular religious affiliation affect their ability to assist spirits to cross over?
No, not at all. If you're meant to do the work, you will.
That's easy. That's easy. All right. We got a few more minutes, but if if people
I was
want to
going to
start,
say, have you ever felt a spirit touch you?
oh yeah.
Oh, it's
Mm-hmm.
freezing, isn't it? Freezing
Mm-hmm.
cold. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God, look, I've run seances for years, and because I'm in the trance state, nothing can touch me because my guides are all over me.
Mm-hmm.
But when I've actually sat in seances with other people running them, I've had fingers in my back
Mm-hmm.
and they're cold as ice, or I've had some horrible spirit hug me and I can feel them on my back or on top of my head, and it's a horrible feeling, isn't it?
It is, and the one that walked through me too. It was like somebody hit
Yeah.
me with a ice bucket of water.
I
It
know
was
it's like you've
just,
been run over by a car, but to me, I do this work and that sort of stuff terrifies me. I can't sit in other people's seances at all because it's
mm,
too scary for me. I hate being poked and prodded. It brings back too many childhood memories, you know?
yeah. Well, yeah. But we were doing it, and it was in a firehouse that had turned into a museum. Some people were going upstairs, and I was like the last one down, and I took 2 or 3 steps up, and somebody poked my butt.
Oh my God, that's scary.
I know, it was probably some old fireman that was, having
Some
fun.
some some dirty old man. I mean, just because they cross over, their personality doesn't change.
No, no, and it was just I was kind of laughing, but because I turned around and looked, and I didn't tell anybody because I was just I was giggling.
Yeah, but that's the other thing you learn too, with when you do your development as a medium and a psychic, that just because you cross over to the other side, you don't become holier than holier like a master energy or anything. You're still
Hmm.
the same Joe Blow that was the big alcoholic or whatever. Your personality
Yeah.
doesn't change. Like you do go for the life review and you find out all the mistakes you made, and they do real
Hmm.
life review your life, the loved ones. But you certainly don't become holy. You're still Joe Blow, the alky, or Mary, the whatever, the gossiper or whatever. They've still got the same personalities.
Yeah, the DNA, it sticks every time you come
Yes.
back down. You try to make it better, but
Well, yeah.
the
Hopefully, we do. We all sort of for our spiritual purpose to lift our consciousness and our karmic cycle. Yes.
hmm
But doesn't mean you're going to listen to everything the elders say about the life review. You're going to take any notice because some people keep repeating the same mistakes again and again. But the
I
other thing I
know.
want to say about suicide, I want to talk
Hmm.
about suicide. A lot of
Sure.
people think, oh, if you kill yourself, that you're going to be stuck on earth, you're going to come back and back and you're lost. That's not true
Hmm.
at all. Like, a very rare do I have a lost soul or spirit that has been a suicide. It's not a big thing. No, not at all. Because a lot of people think, oh, if you do kill yourself, you'll be earthbound. That is so not true.
Hmm.
I've had a few, but not many.
Yeah.
And also, it doesn't mean you have to come back again and learn again. It's not true. Not
Right.
true at all. Because once you die and you come out of your body, you're going into a beautiful, loving consciousness, the spirit world.
Hmm.
So you're not bringing that trauma with you, it's left behind. But you can go and learn from that, why that happened to you through the life review, can't you?
Hmm. Yeah. It's free will. You can come and go if you want, or you don't have to.
Absolutely. And that's
Mm.
so important to know that we all have free will, So that's the most powerful thing to know, isn't it?
Yeah, and then the most dangerous too, because it just sometimes doesn't work. Just in closing, we're getting ready to skedaddle out of here. Please give out your website so people can find out more about you, your books, your blogs, your service. You got a lot of stuff up there that's interesting.
Yes, well, I'm just on the website. So you just Google Kerrie Erwin, I suppose. Kerrie Erwin, ERWIN. It's www.com, pureview.com. But in Australia, I do a lot of spirit shows in clubs. I write books. I've written about 13. They're all online, mostly Kindle, or you buy them or whatever through publishing companies. Or I published one last year and I actually won an award in New York City for the
Hey,
the best spiritual book. I was just so blown away. I was so humbled. And
oh, nice.
I've published that myself. I think it was the first time I ever published a book, and I was very thrilled. And I thought, gee, someone must be reading this stuff. You know, I was thrilled. It sort of inspired me to write more.
There
So I'm
you
working
go.
on another book at the moment on famous people in the spirit world. Because I ran a séance group for 18 years, and I brought lots of spirits through. I even had a few ETs. So
Ah,
there you go. Who offered lots of healing symbols for different things like cancer or arthritis or longevity, arthritis. Yeah, it was interesting. It
mm,
was a wild ride, those seances.
mm,
Wild. I was under, but I could still hear everything that was going on. I didn't go into the deep state. I could
yeah.
sort of hear what was going on, but I couldn't move because I was, going this deep trance state. So that was a wild ride, yeah. It's
Well,
interesting, the spirit world. There's so many things to learn, isn't there?
yes, all over the place. And I hope you do get that book published because I want to read it. But in the meantime, we have to go. So thank you for joining us here tonight. And think about perhaps coming back and doing a teaching
Well,
spirit
I'd love,
rescue
I'd,
class.
I'd love to, but if people are interested, of course. It's
All
about
right.
awareness and being educated, really, isn't it?
It
And
is.
spreading the word
Uh-huh. And
that
that's,
earthbound spirits, look, do exist but the proof's in the pudding. You don't really believe it until it actually happens to you.
yeah, yeah. All right. Well, well, I'll be in touch with you and we'll do something about this. But we also have to thank all the listeners for both live and the podcasts. And until next time, everybody, blessed be and merry meet again. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks. Please join us again next week at the same time for another great guest and more cauldron stirring. Any rebroadcast or other use of this program without explicit permission is strictly prohibited. Copyright 2024. The Mysterioso March by Kevin MacLeod is licensed through Incompetech.com.
All right.
All right. Kerrie,
Well, thank you for that. That was great. It was enjoyable. I hope
it
they enjoyed
was.
it.
Oh, they did. Okay. So